The Witcher offers some clues as to its chronology for fans who are paying close attention. With work, you can piece more or less the entire timeline together. There are still some questions and ambiguities, but the overall picture works just fine. Here's what you need to know. Viewers don't see the earliest scenes in The Witcher until the season's final episode. Through Geralt's flashbacks, we meet his biological mother, Vicenna, and watch as she abandons Geralt at Kaer Morhen, where he meets his mentor, Vesemir, and begins his Witcher training. In an interview, The Witcher showrunner Lauren Schmidt-Hisrich revealed that Geralt is already 100 years old by the time viewers meet him in the first episode. That means that young Geralt's scenes must have happened at the very beginning of the Witcher timeline. Of The Witcher's 3 main timelines, Yennefer's origin story comes first. Yennefer looks fairly young when Tissaia buys her from her father in episode 2, and all of Yennefer's early days happen before the rest of the main plot. We don't know how long Yennefer spends at school, but it doesn't seem like much. Hunchback Yennefer, who should age like a normal human, doesn't show many physical changes during her studies. However, according to Hisrich, Yennefer's story in Season 1 spans about 70 years. After ascending, Yennefer spends 30 years in the court at Aedirn, and another 10 or so kicking around as an independent sorceress before the Battle of Sodden. That leaves 30 years unaccounted for. Either Hisrich had her numbers wrong, or Yennefer trains at Aretuza for a lot longer than it seems. Geralt's first 3 adventures take place next. It's not clear exactly how long it takes Geralt to become known as the Butcher of Blaviken, or how long it took Jaskier to make Geralt famous. Given that Geralt's entire story in Season 1 is about 20 years long, and the 12 years passed between Geralt's 2 visits to Cintra, an 8-year period between Episode 1 and Episode 4 makes sense. We can also surmise that Geralt's battle with the Striga in Episode 3 takes place about 30 years after Yennefer's transformation. At the Sorcerer's Ball in Yennefer's timeline, King Foltest of Temeria can be seen pestering his sister Ada, and the future monarch looks to be around 10 years old. When Geralt meets him, Foltest is in his 40s, and Ada has been dead for years. Yennefer and Geralt's stories in Episode 4 seem to happen around the same time. Yennefer claims that she has been at Aedirn for 3 decades before she decides to strike out on her own. And that's about how much time has passed for Foltest in Geralt's timeline in Episode 3. Further, Geralt's reputation is firmly established by the time that he first enters Queen Calanthe's court. This is the first episode that makes it crystal clear that we're following 3 separate timelines. In the episode, Nilfgaard is a joke, and Ciri's mother is newly pregnant. In the first episode, though, Calanthe and Iced are married. Ciri is 12 years old, and Nilfgaard is a mighty military force. In Bottled Appetites, the star-crossed lovers Geralt and Yennefer meet for the very first time, courtesy of a gin in a bottle. Enough time passes between Bottled Appetites and Rare Species for Geralt and Yennefer to build up quite a bit of history. Their bickering references numerous encounters beyond the one we've already seen, and they seem to have spent quite a bit of time together. Yennefer and Jaskier know each other pretty well at this point too, and they don't seem to get along.
Witches are bound to bump into monsters eventually.
Jaskier.
Yennefer.
The crow's feet in you.
Finally, Ciri's story brings the 3 timelines together with the collapse of Cintra. In the lead-up to Nilfgaard's attack, Yennefer joins the Brotherhood of Sorcerers to discuss the impending invasion, while Geralt goes directly to Cintra to try to rescue Ciri. In fact, Geralt was in Cintra when Ciri fled the city. Unfortunately, Calanthe had locked him in a dungeon to keep him from running off with Ciri. At any rate, Ciri's storyline in Episode 1 and Geralt and Yennefer's plots in Episode 7 happened at the same time. According to Hisrich, Ciri's story in The Witcher's first season unfolds over the course of a couple of weeks. Ciri meets Dara shortly after escaping Cintra, and only spends a little bit of time in the refugee camp before the Nilfgaard attacks. A few days later, she enters Brokilon Forest. After a few nights in Brokilon, the Doppler, disguised as Mousesack, takes Ciri and Dara away. Ciri discovers the deception and frees herself soon afterwards. From there, Ciri fends for herself. She tries to pawn off her jewelry for cash, and is ultimately offered a home by a kindly woman with a house in the woods. All of this unfolds in the time between Geralt's second visit to Cintra in Episode 7 and his arrival at the former refugee camp in Episode 8. By the beginning of Episode 8, much more. All 3 timelines are in sync, while Yennefer and her fellow sorcerers are fighting Nilfgaard at Sodden. Geralt is fighting for his life on the back of a merchant's cart, and Ciri is waiting in a cabin with the merchant's wife. All of this happens about a week after Ciri fled the refugee camp. When Geralt first meets the merchant, the man is cleaning up the bodies the Nilfgaardian army left behind. The episode also takes place over a couple of days. The sorcerers arrive at Sodden and prep their defenses in the daytime. The ensuing battle begins at night, takes the whole next day, and ends just before dawn. The morning after the battle is when Geralt and Ciri meet for the first time. Yennefer disappears after using a ton of magic to channel fire at the Nilfgaardian army. But she's probably not gone for good. As the season ends, Yennefer is the one everyone's talking about.
Who is Yennefer?
Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.